I met Emily the summer after I graduated college. I was back in town, figuring out what was next, still riding the high of 4 years away and not quite ready to be back in my childhood bedroom. She was working at the bookstore on Main, new in town, fresh out of grad school, sleeves rolled up, always scribbling something in a little leather notebook behind the register. The first time we spoke, I was buying a copy of a book I pretended to have already read. She saw right through it and asked me, "You want the summary or the actual experience?" I didn't know what she meant until later. We started slow. Coffee became late-night walks. Conversations bled into sunrise. She was funny in a quiet way, not loud, not trying to impress anyone, just smart and sharp and real. She'd grown up across the state, moved here for a job and some quiet. I'd grown up here and never quite shaken the small-town heartbeat. After a year, we moved in together. 2 years after that, we were married in a backyard ceremony with white lights strung across trees and my best friend, Owen, standing beside me in a navy suit that didn't quite fit his usual style. Owen had been part of my life forever. Since kindergarten. We built forts in each other's backyards, survived high school together, moved across state lines for college. We were different, he was louder, more impulsive, but we always clicked. He was more than a friend. He was family. When I introduced him to Emily, they hit it off immediately. She laughed at his ridiculous stories, kept up with his teasing, and somehow made our triangle dynamic feel effortless. I was glad. I wanted them to be close. Owen was going to be around forever, anyone I loved needed to fit in with that. Emily and I settled into a rhythm. We bought a house on the edge of town, just big enough to grow into. I got a stable job managing logistics for a local distribution company, and she started writing full-time. She published short stories, essays, even won a small award that got her name in a national magazine. I kept the clipping in my wallet for months. 3 years into our marriage, we had our daughter, Lily. 2 years later came Noah. Our world became diapers and car seats, messes and milestones. And somehow, in all that, we didn't lose each other. We still had Thursday date nights, even if they were just takeout after bedtime routines. We still left notes for each other on the fridge. She'd write, "You've got this," before big work presentations. I'd write, "Be gentle with yourself today." On mornings I could see the stress before she said a word. Owen came around often. He was Uncle O to the kids. Helped build Lily's bunk bed. Showed up with balloons when Noah lost his first tooth. It was never weird. He was part of our story. We weren't flashy, but we were full. Weekdays were a blur of packed lunches, school drop-offs, and trying to remember which kid had what activity on which day. Emily had a color-coded calendar taped to the inside of a kitchen cabinet, green for school, blue for appointments, red for anything that involved both of us. It looked chaotic to anyone else, but to us, it was rhythm. Our version of balance. She worked mostly from home, set up in a bright corner of the living room that overlooked the backyard. I'd come home and find her with her glasses pushed to the top of her head, fingers still hovering above her keyboard, like her thoughts were always a few beats ahead of everything else. Lily had her mom's focus. She lined up her crayons before she drew, folded her clothes without being asked, and asked questions you didn't expect from a 7-year-old. Noah, on the other hand, was wild energy and big feelings, pure joy 1 second, dramatic sighs the next. Emily had a way of calming him with just her voice. No sharpness, no panic. Just gentle authority that made him fold into her like she was the only safe place in the world. Owen was a fixture. He didn't knock when he came over, just walked in, tossed his keys in the bowl by the door, and made himself at home. The kids loved him. Emily did too, in the way you love someone who belongs to your shared past. He was her go-to for dad jokes, stories about my embarrassing middle school years, and help fixing things I never quite got around to. He never crossed a line. Never made me feel like a third wheel in my own house. It wasn't like that. If anything, he helped keep things light. When Emily was overloaded with a deadline or I was buried in work, Owen stepped in, babysitting, dropping off groceries, even cooking once or twice when things got crazy. He was good like that. Always had been. Some nights, we'd all sit on the back porch after the kids were in bed, a bottle of wine between us, or a few beers, music low in the background. We'd talk about everything and nothing. The kind of conversations that only happen between people who know your story so well, you don't have to retell the beginning. Emily always sat between us, knees pulled up to her chest, eyes soft, voice low. She liked listening more than speaking, but when she did talk, it landed. She'd say something that made both of us pause, look at each other, and just go silent for a second. She had that way about her, like she could slow time if she wanted to. We weren't perfect. We got tired. We forgot things. There were weeks where we barely made eye contact before 9 p.m. But even then, the base held. We came back to each other. Every single time. That's the thing about trust, it builds so slowly, layer by layer, until one day it's the foundation of everything. Saturday mornings were loud in our house. The kids were up early, cartoons already playing before I'd finished my first cup of coffee. Emily sat at the table with her laptop, hair up, wearing one of my old sweatshirts, editing a story or answering emails. I'd make pancakes, let the kids stir the batter, clean up the mess later. It was our thing. Noah always asked for chocolate chips. Lily always asked why he got more than she did. Emily usually left for the library mid-morning. She liked writing there better than at home, said the hum of people moving around helped her think. I'd take the kids to the park or the grocery store, sometimes to Owen's place if he was around. He had a way of keeping them busy without them knowing they were being managed. Somehow they always came home tired and happy. Sundays were slower. We never made plans unless we had to. The kids would build forts in the living room or spread out Legos across the rug. Emily would cook something that took hours, slow roasts, stews, stuff her mom taught her. I'd sneak bite straight from the pot and get swatted away with a wooden spoon. She pretended to be annoyed, but she always smiled. We were invited to things more often than we accepted. Birthday parties, school fundraisers, couples' nights. Emily liked small gatherings. 1 or 2 people at a time. Max Owen came over for dinner once or twice a week. Sometimes he brought dessert, sometimes nothing. He knew where everything was, didn't ask before grabbing a drink, always cleaned his plate. He wasn't a guest, he was just part of our rotation. Emily and Owen got along in a way that felt easy. They shared the same dry sense of humor, both could hold a conversation without forcing it, and neither minded the silence between. If I stepped out of the room, I didn't come back to awkward pauses, just the two of them exchanging thoughts like they'd known each other for years, which, in a way, they had. We didn't lock doors in our house. Not the front one, not the bedroom, not even the bathroom unless someone was already barging in. It was the kind of home where everything stayed open, cabinets, drawers, routines. The kids knew where the cereal was. Owen knew where the trash bags were. Emily and I shared calendars, passwords, even playlists. Once in a while, she and I would go out, just the two of us. Owen would watch the kids. We'd get a sitter sometimes too, but honestly, he was easier. The kids listened to him. Emily trusted him. I did too. We'd grab a drink, walk around the lake, talk about nothing serious. We didn't need big nights out. Just time to breathe, away from everything. We always came home tired but lighter. Emily would kick off her shoes and say, "That's all I needed," and I'd believe her. There wasn't a lot of drama in our lives. Just work, parenting, dinners, laundry, plans made and changed. It was busy. It was normal. And it was enough. Emily liked evenings to end the same way, dishes done, counters wiped, kids in bed on time, and the living room dim just enough for one of her shows. I'd join her after finishing up emails or folding the laundry that somehow never stopped multiplying. Most nights, she sat curled into the corner of the couch, blanket over her legs, a mug of chamomile in her hands. She watched crime dramas, documentaries, the occasional British cooking show. I didn't always follow what was happening, but I stayed beside her because she'd instinctively reach for my hand during the parts that got intense. She didn't say anything. Just held on. We made time for each other like that. Not with grand gestures, but in small, steady ways. If I was working late, she saved me a plate. If she was up past midnight finishing a story, I'd leave a sticky note by her laptop before bed. We didn't miss birthdays, school meetings, or dentist appointments. We kept each other in the loop, texts during the day, calendar invites, reminders scribbled on the kitchen whiteboard. Owen came around like usual. Sometimes after dinner, sometimes on weekends. He played board games with Lily, built towers with Noah, argued with Emily over music or movie endings like they were hosting a podcast. I never minded the back and forth. It was their rhythm. Comfortable. Familiar. He had his own place, a condo about 15 minutes away, but he was at ours more often than not. If we were making dinner, we'd text and ask if he was hungry. If we were watching a game, we'd tell him to bring beer. He was never an intrusion. He was part of the routine. The kids loved him. Lily would sit on his lap during movies, and Noah followed him like a shadow. He taught them how to make paper airplanes that actually flew, and showed up once with a giant puzzle they worked on over 3 days straight. Emily said he had just enough chaos to match the kids' energy. That sounded right. Sometimes we talked late into the night, the three of us. After the kids were down and the TV was off, we'd open another bottle of wine and drift into conversations that stretched past midnight. Memories, what-ifs, stories we'd already told each other 100 times. Those nights were easy. The kind that left you feeling lighter. Emily still wrote daily. She was working on a novel, a bigger project than usual, and I could see how much she wanted it to be good. Not just published, but good. She didn't talk about it much, just chipped away at it. Some nights she'd share a paragraph or ask me to read a section, and I'd try to give real feedback, not just say, "This is great," even though it usually was. I took pride in how much we supported each other. In how solid we felt. Our friends used to say we made marriage look doable, not glamorous, but real and functional. Like a partnership that worked because both people actually showed up every day. That's what it was. All the moving parts, held together by the quiet effort we didn't always name. And it worked. It started with the sitter. We hadn't needed one in a while, not with Owen around and our schedules mostly lining up, but Emily told me she had a reading event coming up. A late one. It was at a local gallery downtown, and she said it was more networking than anything else. I had a work dinner that night, so we agreed to bring someone in just to keep things easy. We used the same sitter for years, Alana. She lived 2 blocks over, had a schedule that always seemed to line up with ours, and the kids liked her. Lily once called her the fun version of Mom, which made Emily laugh for a full minute the first time she heard it. Emily said she'd book Alana. But when I came home that night, I found out she hadn't. The sitter was someone new, a college student named Marin. Seemed nice enough. A little scattered. She had the TV on too loud, and there were dishes left in the sink, but the kids were asleep and the house wasn't on fire, so I let it go. When I asked Emily about it later, she said Alana was unavailable last minute. I nodded, didn't think much of it, but made a mental note to follow up next time. The next morning, I checked the fridge like I always do, out of habit. I packed the kids' lunches before work and usually prep mine too. There was a new container in the back labeled, "For Thursday," and I didn't recognize it. I asked Emily what it was for. She blinked for a second like she had to remember. "Oh, that's just for an appointment. I've got something early that day, I'll be out most of the morning." She didn't usually forget to add things to the calendar. Especially when it meant being gone during drop-offs. She was the one who managed our shared planner. The same one she color-coded. But that event wasn't in there. I checked. I didn't ask again. Work was hectic that week. 2 of my guys were out on leave, and I was pulling double duty. By the time I got home each day, I was too tired to keep track of every little change. Still, I noticed a few small things. Emily started locking her laptop. Not always, but sometimes, when I came into the room and she wasn't done working, or when she got up for a second. She never used to. I didn't even know she had a password on it. She used to joke that if someone stole it, the most they'd get is half-finished dialogue and embarrassing drafts. Then there was the day I came home early, unplanned. One of my meetings got cancelled. Emily was surprised to see me, not in a bad way, just not expecting me. Her face changed for half a second before she smiled and kissed me. I asked how her day was. She said it was quiet. I didn't press. I never had to. But for the first time in a long time, I had the sense that I'd walked into something just a second too late. Emily had always been consistent. Same coffee mug every morning, same playlist when she worked, same quiet rhythm to how she moved through the day. But lately, that rhythm had changed, not in a big way, more like background noise that didn't quite match the song anymore. She was out more than usual. Not gone for long, just here and there, coffee shops she didn't name, meetings she didn't explain, errands she ran without saying where. I'd get home and ask how her day was, and she'd say, good, productive, then change the subject. Nothing secretive, just vague. One night after we got the kids down, I asked her if she wanted to watch something. We'd been working through a series together, one episode at a time. She said she was too tired and went upstairs with her laptop instead. I stayed on the couch, half watching the screen, half listening to the creak of floorboards above me. It became a pattern. Less time in the same room. Fewer shared meals unless the kids were there. She was still present, she still laughed when the kids did something funny, still brushed her hand across my back when she walked past, but it felt thinner. Like her presence didn't fully settle. I started waking up alone more often. I'd find her downstairs on the couch, blanket thrown over her, laptop closed, a mug next to her half full of cold tea. She'd say she couldn't sleep, that she didn't want to wake me tossing and turning. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? But I started to notice other things. Her phone never left her side now. Not even to charge. If it wasn't in her hand, it was face down. I wasn't snooping. I wasn't looking. But when you live with someone that closely for that long, you notice when habits shift. She got quieter at dinner. Still asked about the kids' day, still smiled, still told Noah to chew with his mouth closed, but sometimes I'd catch her staring just past us, like she was running something in her mind while the rest of us kept talking. She started wearing perfume during the day. Nothing strong. Something light and floral I hadn't smelled before. When I asked if it was new, she paused and said, "Oh, I guess it is. Got a sample in the mail." She used to share things like that. Show me. Ask me if I liked it. One night, I got up to use the bathroom around 2 a.m. and noticed light under the office door. I pushed it open and found her sitting there in her robe, headphones on, face lit by the blue glare of her screen. She jumped a little when she saw me. "Couldn't sleep," she said quickly, closing her laptop. "I was just journaling." I told her to come back to bed. She said she'd be up in a minute. But she never came. I didn't take it as a sign. I didn't assume anything. We were both tired. Life was busy. The kids were growing, and her work was pulling her in more directions. That's what I told myself. But whatever this was, it didn't feel like stress. It felt like distance. And I couldn't tell if it was meant to be noticed, or if she was hoping I wouldn't. I stopped asking questions. Not out of fear, not out of denial, I just didn't know what to ask anymore. Emily still moved through our days like nothing had shifted, but I could feel the space growing. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. It was the kind of quiet that only people who live together really notice. Some mornings, I'd find her already dressed before I got out of bed. That was new. She used to shuffle around in slippers and stretch her neck while sipping coffee. Now, she was put together before the kids were even up, hair brushed, fresh shirt, lips tinted like she had somewhere to be, even if she said she didn't. She said she'd joined a local writing group. Thursdays. I thought it was a good idea, she'd been stuck on a chapter for weeks. But when I asked how it went, she just said, it was fine. She didn't bring home any drafts, didn't talk about the other writers, didn't say where they met. And when I offered to come to a reading or help her prep something for it, she smiled like I was being sweet, not serious. That weekend, I noticed her handwriting had changed, little things, the way she curled her E, how her R.S. looked shorter. She'd left a note on the fridge for Lily about packing gym shoes, and I actually stared at it for a second, thinking it didn't look like hers. Owen came by for dinner that Sunday. Just like always, grabbed a beer, tossed a bag of chips on the table, asked the kids what they'd destroyed lately. Emily made pasta and opened wine, and everything looked exactly like it always did. But I couldn't stop watching her. She laughed a little louder than usual at one of Owen's stories. Not fake, just more than the story called for. She got up twice during dinner to check her phone. Both times, she angled the screen away. Later that night, I went to grab a hoodie from the laundry and found a receipt in the pocket. It wasn't mine. Boutique candle store downtown. 3 items, one of them gift-wrapped. I hadn't seen a candle anywhere in the house. I left it on the kitchen counter. She never mentioned it. The next day, I got stuck in traffic after work. I called Emily to let her know I'd be late, no answer. Tried again. Still nothing. By the time I pulled in, the kids were fed and bathed. She said she'd lost track of time and left her phone upstairs. I nodded. But I couldn't remember the last time she didn't have that phone in her hand. That night, she rolled away from me in bed. I reached for her anyway. Her hand found mine, but it was a placeholder kind of touch, not pulling me in, just acknowledging the gesture. I lay awake staring at the ceiling. Not angry. Not suspicious. Just, elsewhere. Like there was a door in our house I couldn't find anymore. And something was moving behind it. My birthday landed on a Saturday that year. Emily offered to plan something small, just a few close friends, family, nothing flashy. That was fine by me. I wasn't big on attention. She sent out the invites, handled the food, set up the backyard with lights and music and a cooler full of drinks. She made my favorite cake from scratch, the same one she'd made every year since our second anniversary, chocolate with a layer of espresso cream in the middle. Owen showed up early. Said he wanted to help set up, but really just stood next to the grill, sneaking chips and making fun of the playlist. He brought a bottle of whiskey and a card with a joke I didn't get until the second read. Emily rolled her eyes and said, "You two are worse than the kids," but she was smiling. People came and went through the evening. Our neighbors. My sister. A couple guys from work. The kids ran barefoot in the grass, chasing each other around the lawn lights. For a few hours, it felt easy again. Like nothing had shifted. Like the silence of the last few weeks had been a bad dream I'd finally woken from. I blew out the candles around 9. Everyone cheered. Someone suggested a toast, and Owen raised his glass with that crooked grin he always got when he was about to say something stupid. The moment passed with laughter, and someone turned the music up. People started to dance, the casual kind, swaying and half moving, just enough to say you did. I went inside to grab more ice. It took maybe 3 minutes. 5 at most. When I came back out, I didn't see them right away. The lights weren't bright, just those soft strings that make everyone look a little gold around the edges. Then I saw Emily. Near the back fence, in the shadow of the trees. With Owen. They weren't talking. They weren't laughing. They were kissing. His hands were on her waist, hers in his hair. Close. Slow. The kind of kiss that didn't just happen. The kind that had history behind it. Everything around me dimmed. I couldn't hear the music. Couldn't hear the kids. Couldn't hear my own breath. Just the pulse in my ears and the sight of my best friend and my wife, tangled together under lights she had strung for my birthday. I didn't speak. I didn't move. They didn't even notice me at first. When they finally pulled apart, Emily looked up and saw me. And she froze. Owen turned slowly, eyes wide, caught in that split second where everything unravels and there's nothing to grab onto. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just stood there and said, calmly, in my house. No one spoke. I looked at Owen. You were supposed to be my brother. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. I looked at her. You planned this party. Still nothing. I walked past them, into the house, and came back out with the keys to Owen's car. He'd left them in the bowl by the door. I threw them into the street. Then I turned back and said, get out. They didn't move at first. Not right away. Emily stood there with her mouth half open, still trying to find a way to spin what I'd already seen with my own eyes. Owen took a step forward like maybe he thought I'd calm down if he explained it fast enough. I didn't give either of them the chance. You have 5 minutes, I said. And then I start breaking things I'll enjoy replacing. They scrambled. Owen went to the street to find his keys. Emily disappeared into the house without a word. I followed her. Not because I had anything to say, I just didn't trust her to be near anything that belonged to me anymore. She was grabbing her purse from the kitchen chair when I spoke again. You think you get to come back here tomorrow like it didn't happen? She turned, eyes glassy. I didn't mean. No. You meant it, I snapped. You meant every second of it. You had my kids running through the yard while you made out with the only person I've trusted longer than you. She blinked hard. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. Oh, so there was a plan. Silence. I pointed toward the door. Go. And don't come back. She looked like she might try to argue. I didn't let her. I opened the front door, stepped aside, and said it again. Quieter. Final. Get. Out. When she was gone, I locked it behind her and walked through the house room by room, turning on every light like I was checking for fire damage. Because that's what betrayal feels like, not a knife. A blaze. I didn't sleep that night. I canceled our joint accounts first. Froze the credit cards, called the bank, shut down anything that had her name on it. Then I called my lawyer. Told him I wanted to file for divorce first thing Monday morning, and I wanted everything on record, the photos, the witness list, the timing. I wasn't going to be the one whispered about in court. The next morning, I messaged Owen's boss. He worked at a firm where reputation was currency. A place where integrity was written on every damn mission statement. I didn't go into detail. I just said, you should know your employee was just caught in a very public situation with his best friend's wife, during a private event, on private property, around children. That's all it took. HR called him in. By the end of the week, he was put on unpaid leave while they investigated his behavior. I knew the guy who ran their PR made sure the story wouldn't stay internal. I posted once. Just once. A simple photo of the birthday setup, empty lawn chairs under string lights. The caption read, "Threw a party. Watched my wife kiss my best friend by the trees. Thanks for the clarity. I didn't tag them. Didn't need to. The comments came in fast. So did the texts. Friends. Family. Neighbors. People who'd known us for years. No one knew what to say. That was fine. I wasn't interested in comfort. I wanted the truth exposed. They could sit in the wreckage they created. And every brick that fell, I made sure they felt it hit. The next day, I changed the locks. I didn't just switch the front door, I had the garage remotes reset, the side gate reinforced, and every spare key recut. I boxed up everything Emily owned while the kids were at school. Every drawer, every shelf. I didn't fold. I didn't label. I stuffed her clothes into garbage bags and left them on the curb with a message, you can pick them up by sunset. After that, they go to charity. I texted her once. You don't live here anymore. Don't show up unannounced. She didn't reply. I went into our shared cloud account and downloaded every photo. Then I deleted her from it entirely. Removed her access to the kids' school portal. Cut her off from the shared grocery list, the family calendar, the insurance. Every piece of life we'd built, gone. And Owen? I wasn't finished with him either. The HR investigation didn't go quietly. I dropped enough pressure behind the scenes to ensure it made it into the company's legal review. He was let go, not fired, but asked to resign. No benefits. No letter of recommendation. No severance. But the bigger blow came a week later, when I contacted the woman he'd been dating on and off. They'd been together for almost a year. She had no idea. She responded to my message with 2 words, show me. So I sent the photo. Just one. The moment by the fence. My backyard. My birthday. She blocked him an hour later and posted her own version online. Tagged him. Called him by name. Said she'd never been so humiliated in her life. I didn't comment. I didn't need to. But I watched as every mutual friend we had, every connection we built over a lifetime, turned cold. Owen tried calling once. I let it ring out. Then he showed up. Not at the house, he knew better than that, but at the rec center where I usually took the kids on Saturdays. He stood near the sidewalk, hands in his jacket, and called out my name as I carried Noah back to the car. I didn't answer. He said, just give me 2 minutes. I turned, stared him down, and said, you had 20 years. You used them to lie. He took a step closer. I shifted Noah to my other arm. Back up, I said. Before I make this worse for you than it already is. He didn't move fast enough, so I did. I walked straight up and shoved him hard in the chest. He stumbled back. A couple parents looked over. I didn't care. You show up again, I press charges, I said, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. You so much as breathe near my kids, and I make sure you regret every second of it. He left. And that was the last time I saw him. Emily moved into a temporary rental 2 towns over. I didn't let her keep anything except a mattress and the dining table her mother gave us, not because I was generous, but because I didn't want either of those things in my house another day. The divorce process moved fast. Too fast for her to react. I had evidence. I had witnesses. I had momentum. And I had no intention of letting her walk away with anything but shame. It's been 3 months. The divorce is final. Full custody granted, with supervised visitation. Every other weekend, in a controlled setting. Emily doesn't fight anymore. There's nothing left to fight for. I made sure of that. I own the house, the car, the accounts. She walked away with a fraction of what she thought she'd get, because in the end, you can't plead innocence when the truth is burned into pictures, into text messages, into the statements of everyone who was at that party. She tried to apologize, once. Through a letter. I didn't read it. I shredded it and left the pieces in her old writing desk before donating it. The kids are okay. Better than I thought they'd be. Lily asks about her sometimes, but less and less. Noah doesn't. He hugs tighter now, though. Says, "I love you," in the middle of brushing his teeth, just out of nowhere. I hold on to that like armor. Owen moved out of town. At least, that's what I heard. Sold his place, vanished from social media, stopped replying to mutual friends. I heard from someone at his old job that he's trying to freelance. No one's hiring. Not in this state. Not after everything. I don't speak his name anymore. Not because it hurts, because it doesn't deserve to be said. My friends stuck by me. Most of them knew something was wrong before I did, but not what. A few said they'd sensed a weird energy for a while. I told them not to feel guilty. That was on me. I trusted them both too blindly. But that'll never happen again. I sleep now. Not well, but better. There's space in the bed again, and I don't wake up expecting to see her face. The house is quieter, no perfume in the air, no laptop on the kitchen table, no humming under her breath as she folded clothes. I replaced everything she touched. I painted over the hallway where her photos used to hang. I boxed up the memories and dropped them at the dump myself. One thing stayed, though, the birthday banner. It was still in the garage after the party. Folded, and used, in a bag marked, "for later." I took it out last week. Tore it in half. Threw it in the fire pit and watched it curl into ash. Because there is no later. There's only forward. The truth is, I don't miss her. I missed the version of her I thought I had. I missed the safety, the structure, the quiet confidence of believing you're loved by the people who know you best. But now I know better. Love doesn't hide. It doesn't sneak around in the dark or kiss your friend while your kids are chasing lightning bugs in the backyard. It doesn't destroy what you spent your life protecting. And when it does, you make sure it doesn't get the chance again. So I'm still here. Still standing. Still raising my kids. Still going to work. Still brushing my teeth in front of the mirror where she used to lean in beside me. The space she left behind isn't empty. It's clean. And that's all I needed.